Hello and welcome to today's podcast. Today I've got James Hirst with me. James, how are you doing?
Hi, Carl. Very well, thank you.
James, good to catch up. It's been too long, and after I suppose I think I probably caught an eye of an advert that popped up the other day, and I can see that you've got a new venture, which I definitely want you to talk about if you don't mind. But look, I thought without me spending loads of time introducing you, let me hand over directly to you and just talk to us a little bit about how you started, because I'm aware obviously that you were a general manager for us for say us so I'm not there anymore for a long time, and we've known each other quite well, and we've always worked quite well together and bounced ideas off each other, etc. So I think what you've got is quite a lot to share with the with the personal training community, and especially new PTs getting started, thinking what avenues are available to me. And what you're doing now, I think, is really quite inspirational in terms of how you sort of navigated the last 13 months and where you are now. So there was my introduction that I said I wasn't going to do. So, sorry, James, over to you, mate. Talk to us a little bit about how you started and why you started and what sort of got you where you are today.
Yeah, I think the most important question there is the why. So why did we get into the fitness industry? And if you would have asked me when I was 21, I would have told you an ego-inflated answer to say, oh yeah, I want to, Miss World type of answer. But the reality is, when I was very young, when I was younger, I had a stammer. I struggled to speak in front of large groups of people. And that is really that knocked me quite a bit, actually. And I managed, hence my monotone voice, I can control that through my breathing. And so what really got me into fitness really was fear. So I always had a fear of speaking in front of large groups of people, presenting and things like that. And in actual fact, I kind of have this sadistic personality where I run towards what scares me. It sounds daft, but I kind of have that sort of personality. And speaking in front of large groups, whether it's group exercise or personal training or whatever, I tend to run towards that. Like for instance, doing warm-ups at Ellen Road or for the Jane Tomlinson Run for All in front of thousands of people scares me witless. But every time I run towards that fear, my strength and my resilience grows each and every time. So the why I got into personal training was because I was scared to the back teeth actually speaking in front of people, finding a voice actually, really, really helped me, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was the why. I started my personal training business back in the last recession, 2001. At university, I did my dissertation, get this, on excuses. The title was Physical Activity Barriers to Exercise. But basically, you and me know that's just excuses. And what were the excuses? So there was loads and loads of data around people would just like to say, oh, I've got no time. But that's the most socially acceptable answer. So if you break that down and you think, right, what is it? Is it work? Is it college or school or whatever? Is it family commitments? Is it, this, that, and the other? And actually what came out top was work was the main barrier to people exercising, or that was the excuse they used. So I thought to myself, light bulb moment kind of came off in my head, and I said, well, what if we kind of set up something at the workplace, we reduce that barrier, and we actually go to the head office. Lo and behold, I had a couple of clients who were the quite senior directors as the head office. And I pitched the idea to them and the board and the head of HR. They loved it. And that was over nearly 15 years ago. Now, that makes me feel old. But yeah, we did that. And that was, we set up the first workplace wellness in the UK. And that grew up to other sites. And PwC as well was another head office site we did. And that's still going on. you know, and as a personal trainer, the first thing you think of is overheads. How much is rent going to be? How much is this, that, and the other? No secrets, it cost me nothing. It was just literally me, myself, and I at the time. And I managed to get, you know, trainers that I trusted to come on board with me. And off the back of that, they got personal training clients as well. So it really worked for them too. So yeah, that's really how I started as a personal trainer. I saw a problem, excuses, and I just thought of a solution and just went for it.
Brilliant. You know, I mean, that's exactly how you you market a product. The more problems your product can answer, the better. And well done, well done. So from there, where next?
So yeah, thinking back, so I decided that I've got to get a proper job. I've got to work for the big corporate boys in the fitness world. Ironically, I went to Nuffield Health. I actually pitched the idea to Nuffield Health, first of all, of the workplace wellness idea. And they kind of called me a maverick and thought, no, that wouldn't work. Lo and behold, 12 months later, they started all the corporate sites. And I think they've got over 100 corporate sites now. So, but you know, I think a good idea is everyone's idea. And I have no one has a monopoly on good ideas. At the end of the day, it's not something that, you know, you think, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda sort of thing. I could have, you know, done that. So, no, actually, I don't dwell on that and just think what happened then worked for me well. It worked well for me. So yeah, ironically, I went to work for Nuffield Health, and you know, enjoyed my time there. It's very corporate, very clinical. I really like the personality factor through the Group X, and I think that was the place where you could show your personality. It's, you know, it's a massive organisation. It's a charity, so a non-profit organisation, and I think they'll go from strength to strength. I forgot to mention, actually, I was at Living Well as I was doing personal training. So Living Well is a small health club within the Hilton hotels, and there's a number of them around the country. And that was literally doing everything from cleaning, personal training, duty manager, every role you could think of. But it gave me a good foundation in what needs to be done to create a successful business.
Would you say that was the sort of the next step from personal training? Because to make the jump from personal trainer to general manager, very few people manage. So was that the next step in terms of taking on some duties?
Yeah, no, I'll just clarify. So I was the fitness manager at Nuffield Health. So fitness and wellbeing manager. I'd look after the clinical side of things, physio, etc., and Group X and personal trainers. I had a high involvement in the sales and the operations as well. So yeah, it was a natural progression, you could say, from doing personal training and running my own business and effectively utilizing group exercise instructors and letting it flourish itself, if you like. That was quite hard to kind of let go of the reins. But yeah, my little boy, Henry, he came along and I thought, no, I need to have a salary. I think you go through that stage in life where I need security. I don't regret doing that, but I think if I had my time again, I'd probably just have more confidence in myself and say, actually, you're onto a good thing here, James. Keep going. You don't need that security. You don't need that regular paycheck coming in. I remember there was a milestone. I think you mentioned it. When you get to your $4,000 in a month milestone, then your momentum comes, and before you know it, you don't have to market yourself whatsoever. And I think at the very start, there was only a small number of personal trainers, but it was a 500-member club, and there was about 5 of us, and they were all, you know, charging £20, £25. And I thought, well, if I did the sums, I said, if I'm charging £20, I'd have to do X amount just to hit minimum wage. So me being me, running towards the fear, I just thought, right, it's going to be £40 a session. And I backed that up with just tirelessly and relentlessly looking after the clients that I had. So how I did that, I said, right, it's £40 for the one-off session. Or if you want to set up a standing order, you can make that and turn that into £33 per session. So we both know if you do anything consistently for 3 weeks, 21 days, it becomes a habit, it becomes lifestyle after a number of weeks. That's what the direct debit and the standing order sort of cemented for me, and that's how I could build my business. It was just essentially direct debit. I had that as a line. The other line was obviously workplace wellness, and at the workplace wellness, I actually set up boot camps because not everyone can afford personal training. It has to be said, maybe 3%, let's say, but a lot of people can afford the 8-week boot camps, and that's what I did. And that ended up eclipsing how much I'd make from personal training. So it was all checks and balances. I mean, different times of year, you'd have boot camps absolutely fly in, and then other times it would be personal training, and the other times they're just general classes. But yeah, if I could speak to myself 15 years ago, I would say, right, either specialize in one thing, be the very best in what you do, or diversify so you can turn your hands to different things. And what I mean by diversify is, you can do group X as well as personal training. You can't just be one side, one type of personal training. I was very lucky in terms of getting my level 4 through university as well. So that gave me the confidence to say my sessions are £40. And funny enough, that was reassuringly expensive to people. And they found, well, if he's £40, I'm not going to question that. And unfortunately, personal trainers are guilty of this. They don't believe in themselves and they cannibalize their own yield, so how much they charge. They're always racing to the bottom. I see that a lot, and I'm sure you do as well. And at some stage, you've just got to say, no way. Go in, believe in yourself, trust yourself, and believe me, it works.
100%, mate. I mean, well done. I mean, I was just talking to a client this morning. It's about the level of service that you want to offer to somebody. Certainly, if you're selling time, then you've only got a finite amount of time. So if you're going to deliver an excellent service, how many relationships can you genuinely manage to that level? Is it? I tell you what, it's not 50, and it's probably not 40, because 40 hours of effectively training somebody in the gym and then going away and doing some management in terms of their programming, their nutrition, etc., it's not manageable. So you have to charge more money if you're going to deliver a better service. And in fact, so a lot of my work now is I suppose educating trainers to help harder. If you help harder, you can charge more, and if you charge more, you can help even harder. And therefore, you end up having a smaller amount of clients, but you're charging a touch more money per client. But it allows you to have a better relationship, and if you can have a better relationship, you'll help those people achieve their goals much quicker, much faster, and probably more reliably.
Oh, 100%. And how I got more clients was literally by being on the gym floor and other people seeing how I'd handle myself. Yeah. So, for instance, making sure that showing my personality, being really professional as well. I think that's a balance a lot of personal trainers need to strike. Show your personality. No one else can be a better version of you. So be you and have the balls to be you. But at the same time, don't appear with your phone, even if it's a diary. Don't have your phone in your hand constantly looking down, because there's a perception there where people will be like, oh, it's just on Insta, Snapchat. Yeah, I always say this as well, a member's perception is their reality. So what they perceive to be the case is their reality to them until you change their minds. But first impressions count. And I think I got the majority of my clients through referrals and also just by people watching me in a session. I was explaining to one of the personal trainers who does a lot on the boot camps outside. Got lovely scenery around Temple Newsom near us. It's a beautiful place, but no one will ever come up to you, correct me if I'm wrong, and speak to a stranger in the park and say, oh yeah, I want personal training. Maybe in a gym, that'd be different. So if you're on a one-on-one session, you say, oh, Carl, I saw you do some things with James there. I wondered if you can show me a few things, or we can have a consultation, or whatever. And they were more likely to do that in a gym than, in the park, if you like. So that's something always to consider. I know there's no overheads in the park, but it's always something to think, that's your shop floor, that's your shop window. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I did it myself in that way. It's much easier to build a client base in a gym, certainly a gym with a whole bunch of members, than it is to start online. Everybody right now has had to go online because there's been pretty much no other option barring the parks, like you say. But that takes a lot more time and an investment to build that initial awareness of who you are and build confidence in effectively you when they've never really met you. Where in a gym setting, you've got the opportunity to interact with them multiple times before that even comes up. So you're absolutely right. I think that a gym setting is a great grounding for any new PT. Useful. Thanks, James. So from your you built a PT business, then you took the gamble, if you will, on an employed role, and that was Nuffield as a fitness manager. From there, you progressed again.
Yeah, so I went over to Exercise for Less and went over to the head office site as general manager there. Huge site, lots of members. Group exercise, absolutely rocking and rolling. Such a buzz as well. You're looking at 10,000 plus members, and if you've not experienced it, it's an experience to behold. So I was going from probably a premium sort of sector to low cost operator, high volume, and do you know what, the buzz was fantastic. It really was. I enjoyed every minute. It was hard. It was long hours. You had to be resilient, definitely. And yeah, I went over to another site as well, Leeds North, which literally was like a family club. Well, we turned it into a family club very quickly. We did some exciting work together that impacted the group exercise and the fitness model for Exercise for Less nationally, and that was so exciting to be a part of as well, because we both know how strong group exercise is in terms of retention and also in terms of shouting about. People can refer people because we've got Carl doing my body pump, or there tends to be a crowd and a community within gyms that kind of move around a little bit. And they tend to follow your best group exercise instructors. So that is something that I'll always consider when building my own team. So yeah, that's where I was for the last 3 years, and finished last couple of months ago.
Well, before I get on to what you're doing now, I think what might be interesting is from your perspective, because you've had experience in a Nuffield as a premium model, if you like, to a budget model with in the town centre with 10,000 members, then to how you phrased it as a family club with maybe half that amount of members. If you were a PT going back and presented with those three options as a place to start your business, which one would you choose?
Wow, that's a great question. Obviously, with a premium, so high end, they tend to have employed personal trainers. So they would be on a tier system. So you get X amount for up to 10 sessions, Y amount for up to 15, and then it flies after that. That's very similar to Virgin Active. I probably would stay away from that, simply because I know what my potential is, and what I can earn for myself. So I'd probably go away from that side. I guess you've got to ask yourself, have you got a client base already? Where are they? Where can you see your clients training? Not where can you see yourself training? Because there's a lot of personal trainers that will make the mistake of going to a bodybuilding gym thinking their 60-year-old Betty client would love to go. No, they wouldn't. I know I'm stereotyping, but that is not going to happen. So where you want to train yourself is not necessarily where your clients will want to train. You've got to think of all the barriers to them. You know, how long does it take them to get there? Think of all the excuses that they could use. Too long a time, too far away. Location's very important. So I see myself in either of them, but it'd be dependent on what clients I have, and I'd adapt to that.
Okay, good answer. I think I suppose it's complex, isn't it? I suppose is the answer to the question. What one final question on sort of the direct PT advice, I suppose, is that how important is planning?
Planning's so important. I mean, if you asked me to chop down a tree, I'd spend half of that time sharpening my axe. Get everything prepared, everything ready. You liked that, didn't you, Carl?
It's because someone's read Stephen Covey, that's why.
Yes. So you've got to think of yourself as, look, you've got to prepare. You've got to lay the groundwork and the foundations. But also, I've spoken to a lot of personal trainers with fantastic ideas, and they never move forwards with one of them because they were a bit scatty. There are loads of ideas coming through, but logically, what's the first step? What do you need to do now to implement that idea? So step one is this, right? Do that. Now move on to step two. One thing that when I was younger, I was probably paralyzed by perfection because I wanted everything. So I almost over-planned things. Wanted everything to be perfect right from the get-go. You can't always have that. Progress is probably better than perfection because you learn a lot as you go. Just get going, get that momentum going. Yes, planning is vitally important. But also, don't be afraid of taking the first step into the unknown because, wow, you learn a lot from your mistakes. But also, if you do make mistakes, you're making mistakes falling forwards, so you're still making progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a really good way of putting it. And look, you learn a lot more when you make mistakes and when things don't work for you than you do when you win. I remember a regional manager of mine telling me that when in my first year as a general manager, everything went right. We hit every sales target by a country mile and did really well. The second year, effectively our budgets were set on smashing it because we did, and then we had a competitor open literally across the way, and everything went wrong. But that's when I learned how to be a manager. Not in the first year when everything was going right. I was patting myself on the back every day. But the following year, when things weren't going, spend a lot more time trying to work out how to make them go right. And that's when you grow. That's when you learn. And you, without having a go, you don't have that opportunity, right?
And I think coming back to the point of why I got into the industry was I wanted to grow and overcome my fear of speaking in front of people. And if you take yourself out of your comfort zone, by the way, what we ask our clients to do every day, do it yourself, you will grow so much from there. And never compromise yourself as your personality. Be yourself and be true to yourself as well. Show your personality every chance you get, obviously professionally, but I think it's really important to grow as a person. And there's so many, I'm inspired by people like Jordan Peterson, who is constantly advocating responsibility and growing and becoming a better version of yourself. And I think that's really important. I think everyone definitely needs to, that's a book plug right there, 12 Rules for Life. Definitely have a read of that. Jordan Peterson. It starts with making your bed in the morning. Simple as that.
Well, do you know, I was literally going to ask you what book you recommend. And Jordan Peterson is a controversial dude, right? So definitely worth it.
Yeah, the truth will set you free, but first it will probably be you off.
You can swear. Listening. So, Alan, on them. In conclusion, then, and look, firstly, again, thank you for coming on today. I think you've just been some absolute little pearls of wisdom you've dropped in there. Talk to us a little bit about what you're up to now, and what this, I suppose, how this opportunity presented itself, and when you open.
Wow, it's been a roller coaster ride. A couple of months ago, I was unemployed, out of a job, and you know, you do the old thing of looking into your network and say, who can maybe help me or put me in touch with the right people. And so, yeah, I was put in touch with the right people, and an opportunity presented itself to open our own gym, and it's called My Gym. And we've purposefully put the location Halton in the name as well. So we don't prescribe to this notion of, you know, the broad strokes of the corporate gyms, you know, the one size fits all. We want to be really personal and really committed to the community that we're in. So for instance, we'll be going out litter picking, you know, once a month within the community. And we do want to be part and parcel of that local community as well. We've got plans to open, you know, 3 to 5 sites in the next 5 years, but steadily. We don't want to run before we can walk. But also, the name My Gym actually came last. We were talking as a team, myself and my co-founders were talking about all things that really resonate for us. So things like honesty, transparency, integrity, all those core values. And what do we want to do in terms of placing ourselves in the market and how we can solve people's problems, if you like. And also what really resonated with us was we want everyone to feel like it's theirs, you know, it's their second home. And my is, well, it's a ownership pronoun, isn't it? So that will spin off to, you know, my spin, my PT, you know, my team. You know, I could keep dishing the fromage, the cheese, but I won't bore you. But seriously, yeah. So the name came last. So My Gym Halton, it's near Temple Newsome in Leeds. It'll be our first site, and yeah, we're in a location that used to be a gym. Unfortunately, you know, closed. But we've got a fantastic foundation to work from. And also, we're going to ask members what equipment and what classes they want. You know, that old thing of listening. We're going to ask people, what equipment do you really want? Not what you think you want, but what do you want to achieve? And what's the best equipment would you like? We're going to listen to that. And that's another point of saying, actually, you're invested into the community. So we're listening to them and they feel listened to and say, hey, really wanted that hat squat, that blue kickback machine, and you did it for me. And I think that will resonate quite strongly with the community. So yeah, I'm just super buzzing, tired. I've been painting constantly, all this black paint behind you. I've still got more to do. So yeah, but it's been so much fun, and I'm working with Paddy and Jake, who are also the co-founders, who were fantastic, and we agitate really good ideas from each other. And there's no ego. There's no ego whatsoever. It's just about how can we be the best, and how can we be the best versions of ourselves as well, and offer the best service to our members as well. So yeah, really happy.
Mate, I think you've got a great little concept there, and I wish you all the best. James, thank you again for taking the time today. Really appreciate it, and good luck with the Open.